Emma, so great to meet you. How are you? Sorry about all that.
Thank you, Dolly. How are you?
I'm great. Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you because there's so many things that are going on in your life and very exciting. So first off, let's obviously start with the with the series. It's so good and it's so much fun to watch these girls and what they go through, honestly. So we know that it's based on Dolly Alderton's best-selling memoir. First, I have to know, were you familiar with it before? And if not, or if you were, whatever, were you excited to meet Dolly and kind of talk to her about playing Maggie?
So I hadn't heard of the book. Well, I hadn't read. No, I had heard the book, but I haven't read it. And I
Okay.
kind of heard about Dolly, but didn't know much about her. And I got the first episode through and the audition sites, and I read the first episode, and I was laughing out loud, which doesn't always happen. And I was
Yeah.
relating to it, and I was like, I want the second episode immediately. And then someone said it's based on the book, and I was like, oh, amazing. So I did the audition process, and then it was only when I got the job I then read the book. So I had thought about reading about it during the audition process, but I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna jinx it, like, I'll read it
Yeah,
if I
makes
get.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to stick to the script as well because it is different from the book, and
Of course.
it was, the series was inspired from the book, so it was nice having that kind of difference and knowing what the difference was. And then I met Dolly in the audition process from afar.
Yeah.
And then eventually when I got the job, I was like, right, let's sit down and talk for 5 hours about everything.
Yeah. How nerve-wracking is that when you have the real life person that, your character is pretty much based on? How do you even kind of wrap your mind around something like that?
I mean, I think I was so lucky that I got to meet her. I think it's tricky when you're playing real people that you can't sit down and have a chat with. That's a very different thing. But the
Yeah.
fact I could sit down with Dolly, talk to her, figure out how far away Maggie is from her.
Mhm.
So I could, whilst being sensitive to the fact that it's based on her, also kind of creating that distance. So it was my interpretation and just kind of piecing all those things together. So she's still very much her own character.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want to play Dolly because that's
Yeah.
not how it happens. So yeah, I think it was a relief that it wasn't, an imitation of her, basically.
100%. And then, of course, look, it's not going to work unless you have the four actresses who play, the four friends. They have to jive. I love Belle. She's so great. I love her in everything that she does. And like all four of you, it just to me seemed that you had that immediate bond. Tell me a little bit about that. And it seemed like you guys were in camp all the time, right?
We got so lucky. I met Belle in the chemistry read. We clicked really quickly. I met Marley, who plays Nell, in the chemistry read. But again, it was very, very brief. So you don't know what it's going to be like long term. And then
Sure.
we all got the job. We got into rehearsal week. Our first week in Manchester, they threw us all in a room together and we had to start dancing, basically. And it was actually the best kind of test of chemistry there could have been, because it meant we all kind of dropped our guard. All of us were very happy to be like silly around each other, and we were improvising, and it just was like a shortcut to making a quick connection. But it was just organic and easy, and it kind of took any acting out of the equation because it was just honest.
Yeah, it felt like it for sure. And when we were all in our 20s, we all do dumb things, let's just face it, because we're navigating life. We want to find love, but we want to also know, what are we going to do with our lives? Where are we going? What are we going to do with our careers and all this kind of stuff? But one thing for sure, somebody can relate to any one of these girls, especially Maggie too. Like, I mean, did you find that as well about being relatable?
100%. And I think, that's what matters to me most, playing any character, is relating to the audience, because then an audience is connecting with you and they're emotionally invested. But with Maggie, I think it was quite easy to be relatable because she's the most real, honest, complex, nuanced character I've ever been lucky enough to play. And I think that was the same with the other girls, and their characters. Um, and I think it's nice as well that you get to see Maggie, who she appears to be, and who she is around people, and all that confidence and liveliness that she has. And then you also see kind of under the layers of, she's actually not that confident in herself, and she's vulnerable, and she's confused, and she gets anxious about stuff, and that all of those things make up a real person.
100%. Yeah. And I was wondering for you too. I mean, when you look back at, well, you're not that far off from that age, but when you look back at when you were kind of starting, you started as a model, you had a good run there. And then all of a sudden, you decide to be an actor. What kind of prompted that move for you?
I'd always wanted to get into acting ever since I was in school. I didn't really know how to do it. So fell into modeling, and then it was an audition that came through my modeling agency for a short film, and I just, this light bulb, and it was like, this is my chance. You just got to go for this. And I did that, and luckily that kind of went on, and I got an agent. So I think it was the right things falling into place at the right time, but also being presented with an opportunity and going, I just have to do this.
Yeah. Just jump in and go for it. Yeah.
But it was also, I really wanted to get into the acting.
Well, look at you now. Amazing, like all the great things you've done. Just one more thing about the series, and I was just going to ask you a couple other things, but great wardrobe. Did you have any input in that? Because wow, did you get to take any of it home with you?
There were so many things I wanted to take home, but then I was like, can you imagine if I'm just walking around the street looking like Maggie? Everyone's going to think I've taken it a bit too far. She's got, I have to say, Dolly actually did buy me an Afghan coat for my birthday.
Oh, nice.
So nice. And it's a proper vintage one, which was
wow.
Beautiful. It was just like an absolute blast from the past when we went in to do our costume like fittings, and Matt Price, our amazing costume designer, was like handing me a pair of like American Apparel disco pants, which I was wearing when I was that age, and just kind of getting all these blasts from the past of 2012 really. So it was much input. I mean, you can always, there's always a discussion, but he just got it so right. And Dolly was also
totally. Everybody had great stuff. Like I loved watching that aspect of the show. Okay, so like I said, you've been a little busy over the last little while, and another amazing performance in Pistol. Oh my God, talk about a total different. I know that was shot before this one, but you're playing another real person, but a tragic story. I mean, and you're working with the great Danny Boyle. I mean, oh my God, could it get any better? To tell that story, Nancy's story, that's been difficult, I would think. So tragic.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't expecting it. That was for sure. And I just loved the way that Craig wrote it, and how Danny wanted to portray it, of trying to see like a version of her that we haven't necessarily seen. Because films being made about her, and I feel like she's very infamous in popular culture. But everyone's got a different side to them. Everyone is how they are for a reason. So I think having the freedom to kind of to do that, and have moments where she might be funny. As well, we kind of didn't want it to be purely tragic, because that is all we kind of know. So
100%. No, what amazing performance in that. And I always find that story about Sid and Nancy and just the Sex Pistols so fascinating. Were you into their music?
Not before doing the job, no. I knew of them, obviously. Like I knew all the kind of like the artwork and like Anarchy in the UK and stuff, but getting the job was the first time I sat down and properly listened to them. So that was really, really fun.
Yeah, cool. And then of course you appeared in The Witcher, which is like just, oh my God, it just exploded the popularity of that series. Insane. Okay, so you know, my heart doesn't bleed because you got to work with Henry Cavill, who I absolutely love. So the man is being touted for the next James Bond. What do you think? That's pretty amazing.
I mean, he's definitely got Bond energy. So he does all his own stunts.
Like he was Superman. I mean, come on, what can this guy not do?
That would be Superman and Bond. That's interesting one. No, it hasn't been done before.
It has not been done before. You're right. That would be a really cool take on, you know, like James Bond putting on his cape. I think we have a whole new movie here.
Yeah, exactly. Someone's going to write it.
So what else do we have coming up from you, Emma? You're so busy and you're so talented. What else are we going to see?
It's nice. I've kind of gone back to the drawing board after a big year of filming, and then this year's been, you know, doing press for all the shows.
Yeah.
So now I'm, you know, classic life of an actor. You're back to your desk reading scripts again, but there's just amazing stuff being made in TV and in film.
Yes.
And I've been so lucky with what I've done. I never really expected the characters I played to come across. So now I'm looking for like the next one.
And what's so amazing too is that everything that you have done, especially with this series, they're all on streaming services. So somebody can always just find it now or a year from now. You know, what do you find too? Like when you're walking down the street and somebody, you know, recognizes you, and it must be so humbling and gives you, you know, and give, you know, I loved you in this or this or this. What's that like for you to be recognized?
I mean, it's, you know, really doesn't happen very often at all, and it really takes me by surprise when it does. But it's always people saying really lovely things about your work. So, like, you know, what's not to like, really?
No, for sure.
You know, I know those shows are out there, but it kind of makes it a bit more real when you have someone saying, "I watched your show and I loved it, and thank you." It's just a lovely thing, and you kind of remember that, oh yeah, people are watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely.
It's lovely. Well, you are lovely. Thank you so much for your time today. You're so good in this series and everything that you've done so far. So I can't wait to see what's next. So best of luck to you, Emma. Thank you again for your time, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bonnie. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.